I told you last week that Donald Trump fired his campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski, and that Paul Manafort was taking over that role. And the same day, I believe it was the same day, maybe the day after, Lewandowski was interviewed on CNN and he was asked why he got fired. He said he didn't know, and he went right into some pro-Trump talking points. And we noted it's interesting that he's continuing to be loyal to Donald Trump. And it's now gotten even more interesting because Lewandowski has been hired by CNN, and we're learning a lot more about maybe the reasoning for those pro-Trump talking points he went into when asked why the guy had just fired him. Donald Trump, in both his businesses and his presidential campaign, requires basically everybody that works for him to sign non-disclosure agreements and non-disparagement clauses within those agreements. And the meaning of that is that Corey Lewandowski, in all likelihood, is legally forbidden from saying anything negative about Donald Trump and his campaign or his family or his business as a CNN contributor. Lewandowski once tweeted that he had a strict confidentiality agreement with Trump, and in all likelihood, we are correct to believe that it includes those non-disparagement clauses that are common in the Trump non-disclosure agreements. And on MSNBC this week, Lewandowski repeatedly deflected questions about whether he had signed one of these agreements. He said, that's internal politics that nobody really cares about. Well, not really. We do care about that because now he is a paid contributor on CNN. And this is part of Donald Trump's authoritarianism with regard to speech. This includes denying press credentials to nearly a dozen news organizations, more recently booting the Washington Post, as we talked about. But it's relevant to Corey Lewandowski in a really specific way because CNN has hired him to provide political commentary on a campaign, presumably based on what his opinions are. But there's every indication he's legally forbidden from actually giving his full and honest opinion when it comes to the Trump campaign. He is only legally allowed to say positive things about the campaign. And the question isn't, oh, CNN is employing partisan commentators. Of course they do. They employ partisan commentators on both sides, everyone from Donna Brazile, who ran Al Gore's campaign, to Jeffrey Lord, the Trump supporter who worked for Reagan, whatever. The issue here is that there are specific people who have contracts outside of CNN that bind them to talk about issues in a particular way. Now, there's the argument from CNN, we're just trying to reflect all sides, but they're hiring people, paying them to show up and basically be PR people for a candidate. These people are hired to be surrogates for the campaigns, not analysts. They add nothing. And if we had higher media literacy, I wouldn't really worry, but I know people, and this isn't an insult, it's just sort of a sad thing. They watch these channels and it's their default view that they're watching people who are merely experts in politics without a primary understanding that these are mostly biased individuals giving opinions. That's bad enough. And now with Corey Lewandowski, you're adding someone who, Lewis, is in all likelihood legally restricted in what the opinions are that he's even allowed to give.
Mm-hmm. And I know why they want him on. He's probably good for ratings. Why would he turn down this job?
Sure.
Much different from just having a panel where you might have a shill for some company or someone who is endorsing a candidate. It's unfortunate, and you're right. Most people will probably listen to this guy and think, this guy's a pro. He knows what he's talking about. Make America great again.
And it wouldn't be unfair. It would make a lot of sense to say at the beginning of interviews, Corey Lewandowski is the former Trump campaign manager, and it is our belief that he is legally forbidden from saying anything negative about Trump. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, Corey, tell me what you think about Donald Trump. That's a very different scenario than he's just on a panel like all these other political experts. And this is just a panel of experts giving their personal and sincerely held opinion. Very different situations.
Yeah. Well, imagine if we had full disclosure and disclaimers like that on anything. Before any story about net neutrality or whatever, MSNBC says, oh, by the way, we're owned by Comcast, blah, 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 blah. That would be a wonderful thing.